What if one unexpected decision could transform everything you thought you knew about someone? This is the story of Logan Carter, a stoic and commanding businessman, and Amelia, the quiet housekeeper who had spent years blending into the background of his grand estate. For nearly 3 years, Amelia dedicated herself to maintaining Logan's impeccable world, defined by luxury, deadlines, and his relentless pursuit of success. She never expected to step outside her role, let alone into the spotlight. But one fateful evening, Logan's mounting desperation led him to make an unusual demand that neither of them could have predicted would set the stage for a transformation neither saw coming. Facing a crucial business dinner with influential investors and no time to find a proper companion, Logan looked up from his office desk and saw Amelia polishing shelves. His request, or rather, his command, was curt and devoid of sentiment. "Accompany me tonight. This isn't an invitation, it's an order. Just smile, nod, and stay silent." Amelia could have declined. She could have allowed herself to be overshadowed by Logan's towering personality. But what she did that night was something no one, not even Logan, could have anticipated. Are you curious to know what unfolded during this extraordinary evening? Stay with us as we delve into a tale of unexpected courage, harsh truths, and a journey that redefined leadership and love. If you enjoy compelling stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more life-changing tales. You won't want to miss what happens next. Amelia stood in the corner of Logan Carter's expansive office, the soft gleam of polished wood reflecting her meticulous care. She had learned early on to keep her head down and do her job well, blending seamlessly into the background of Logan's high-powered world. But this evening, everything changed. Logan, known for his sharp suits and even sharper words, paced by the grand window overlooking the city. He was a man at the top of his field, yet his company faced a pivotal crossroads tonight. Investors were growing wary, and this dinner was his chance to regain their trust. Without glancing at Amelia, he spoke in his usual brisk tone, barely veiling his impatience. "I need someone to accompany me to a dinner tonight," he said, his gaze fixed on the skyline. Then, his tone sharpened. "This is not a request. You'll be discreet, agreeable, and silent. Understand?" Amelia froze momentarily, processing his words. She had never been spoken to in such a way. Part command, part indifference, but she kept her expression calm. "Yes, Mr. Carter," she replied, her voice steady, though her mind was swirling. In the privacy of her modest room later, Amelia pondered her decision. Why had he chosen her? She wasn't glamorous or well-versed in the business world. Was it desperation? Or perhaps he thought she was so insignificant that she could serve as nothing more than a shadow. Whatever his reasoning, Amelia saw this as an opportunity, though she wasn't yet sure what kind. That evening, Amelia stood before her mirror, adjusting the elegant yet understated black dress she had borrowed from a kind neighbor. She didn't have much, but tonight wasn't about material things. It was about showing herself, and perhaps Logan, that she could step into a world far beyond the one she knew. She left the mansion with her head held high, determined to face whatever lay ahead. The restaurant was everything Amelia expected of Logan Carter's world. Grand chandeliers, soft candlelight, and an air of exclusivity. Logan stood at the entrance, impeccably dressed, but his expression was clouded with impatience. When he saw her, his gaze flicked over her quickly as though she were a functional accessory. "You're late," he muttered, even though she wasn't. Without waiting for her to respond, he turned sharply, leading her inside. The investors were already seated at an abundant table in the center of the room. They were polished men in tailored suits, their eyes sharp and calculating. Logan introduced Amelia with a wave of his hand, his voice detached. "This is Amelia. She's accompanying me tonight. No last name, no title, just Amelia." She felt their scrutinizing gazes as she took her seat. She was an enigma to them, a presence that didn't belong in their polished world. Whispers and glances circulated the table, but Amelia, keenly aware of the judgment, kept her posture composed. She may not have belonged by their standards, but she wouldn't let them see any cracks in her confidence. As the dinner unfolded, Logan dominated the conversation, discussing numbers, projections, and expansion plans. Amelia remained silent, absorbing everything. Her sharp mind picked up on nuances, body language, and veiled skepticism from the investors. She noticed that Logan's aggressive tone alienates them rather than inspires confidence. Then, the conversation shifted unexpectedly. Daniel Adams, the most influential investor at the table, turned to Amelia with a pointed smile, his eyes glinting with subtle condescension. "So, Amelia, what do you think about all this? Must be quite an experience for someone like you." The table grew silent, the tension palpable. Everyone, including Logan, seemed to expect her to respond politely, dismissively. But Amelia, feeling the moment's weight, decided she would no longer shrink into the background. "It's certainly eye-opening," she began, her voice calm yet assured. "But while numbers and strategies are crucial, understanding the people behind the business is just as important. After all, a company's true strength lies in its people, employees, customers, and even the communities it serves." The table froze. Logan's sharp gaze turned to her, his surprise evident. Daniel let out a soft laugh, intrigued by her response. "An interesting perspective, Amelia. We rarely hear someone focus on the human element in this setting." Logan, however, was not laughing. His jaw tightened, and his fingers clenched around his wine glass. Amelia's words, though well received by the investors, had disrupted the evening's dynamics and his control over it. Despite the undercurrent of tension, the conversation gradually shifted back to business. Yet, Daniel occasionally directed questions toward Amelia, drawn to her thoughtful and sincere insights. Logan grew visibly uncomfortable as the spotlight moved away from him and onto the housekeeper he had brought along merely to fill a seat. As the evening progressed, another pivotal moment arrived. Daniel steered the discussion toward corporate social responsibility, which Logan had never prioritized. "Logan," Daniel began, "what's your company's stance on giving back to the community? Do you have any social initiatives in place?" Logan hesitated, clearly unprepared. Amelia, sensing his discomfort, could have remained silent. Instead, she leaned forward, her voice steady. "I believe every company has a responsibility to contribute to the greater good," she said. "Success isn't just about profit margins. It's about leaving a legacy that uplifts others." The silence that followed was heavy, but it was not hostile. The investors looked at her with newfound respect while Logan's face darkened with irritation and disbelief. Amelia's words had shifted the energy of the evening, but they had also challenged Logan's authority in front of the very people he needed to impress. The car ride back to Logan Carter's estate was steeped in silence, but it was not comfortable. Logan sat rigidly in the back seat, staring out the window, while Amelia remained composed beside him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The evening, she had not gone as Logan had planned. Logan's thoughts raced, his frustration mounting. How dare she? He thought, recalling how Amelia's words had drawn the investors' attention and approval. Daniel Adams had looked at her as though she were an equal, a voice worth hearing, not the housekeeper Logan had brought along as a silent accessory. As the car pulled into the circular driveway, Logan wasted no time. "Amelia, my office." "Now," he ordered as he stepped out, his tone curt and brooking no argument. Amelia followed him into the grand office, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. Logan turned to face her as soon as the door closed, his frustration evident. "What were you thinking?" he demanded, his voice sharp. "You were there to listen, not to speak, and certainly not to upstage me in front of my investors." Amelia stood her ground, her expression calm but firm. "Mr. Carter, I didn't intend to upstage anyone. I simply answered their questions truthfully. They deserve to hear a perspective that might not have crossed their minds." Logan scoffed, his anger barely contained. "Your perspective? You're a housekeeper, Amelia. You have no experience, no business in that conversation. Do you know how much damage you could have caused tonight?" Amelia took a deep breath, steadying herself. "And do you know how much damage your arrogance has caused, Mr. Carter?" she said, her voice unwavering. "You invited me because you didn't respect me enough to seek out someone qualified. Yet tonight, it was clear that your investors don't just want numbers. They want to see a leader with vision, Someone who values people, not just profits. Logan's jaw tightened, but he had no immediate response. Her words hit harder than he cared to admit. After a tense silence, he made his final move. "This is your last day here, Amelia. You're fired." Amelia's heart sank, but she refused to let her emotions show. She met Logan's gaze steadily and nodded. "If that's what you think is best, Mr. Carter." With that, she turned and left the office, her dignity intact. The following day, Amelia packed her belongings, feeling sadness and relief. Working at Logan's estate had provided stability, but it had also been stifling. The events of the previous evening had illuminated her potential and worth in ways she hadn't fully realized before. As she zipped her modest suitcase, her phone rang. She answered cautiously, surprised to hear Daniel Adams's voice on the other end. "Amelia, it's Daniel. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." "Not at all, Mr. Adams," she replied, unsure where the conversation was headed. "I wanted to tell you that I was incredibly impressed with your insights last night," Daniel said warmly. "It's rare to meet someone with such clarity and conviction. I think your talents would be an asset to my team. How would you feel about joining my company in a leadership role?" Amelia's breath caught. "A leadership role?" she echoed, barely able to process the words. "Yes," Daniel continued. "I believe you have the potential to make a real difference, and I'd like to allow you to do so. Think it over, but I hope you'll consider it." As the call ended, Amelia felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just a new job. It was a chance to enter a world she had only glimpsed the night before. Meanwhile, Logan's world was unraveling. The investors, dissatisfied with his rigid, profit-driven approach, began pulling back their support. Contracts were lost, key partners severed ties, and his company's reputation faltered. Sitting alone in his expansive office, Logan couldn't shake the memory of Amelia's parting words. "They want to see a leader with vision, someone who values people." For the first time in years, Logan felt doubt, a gnawing sense that he had been blind to the actual cost of his ambition. But pride kept him from admitting it, even to himself. At Daniel's company, Amelia thrived. She immersed herself in her new role, quickly earning the respect of her colleagues with her keen insights and unshakable integrity. Daniel became a mentor, guiding her through the complexities of leadership. But Amelia's influence soon reached beyond her new workplace. When Daniel's company acquired a struggling competitor, none other than Logan Carter's firm, she found herself in an unexpected position of power. At the first leadership meeting following the acquisition, Logan walked into the boardroom with his usual confidence, only to freeze when he saw Amelia seated at the table. She looked poised and self-assured, starkly contrasting to the housekeeper he had dismissed so callously. Their eyes met, and momentarily, the room seemed to hold its breath. Logan's expression flickered with disbelief and something else, perhaps shame. "Amelia," he said, his voice low. "Mr. Carter," she replied evenly, her tone devoid of malice but also free of deference. As the meeting unfolded, Amelia presented a plan to restructure Logan's former company, focusing on sustainable practices and social responsibility, values she had always championed. The investors were captivated while Logan sat silently, grappling with the reality of his situation. The leadership meeting ended, but the tension between Logan and Amelia lingered like an unspoken storm. Logan's mind raced as he left the boardroom. The sight of Amelia at the table, commanding respect and presenting a clear vision, had shaken him to his core. As he stepped into his car, he replayed her words during the meeting, sharp, purposeful, and inspiring. Amelia had spoken about sustainability, valuing employees, and creating a company culture rooted in trust. Logan had spent years focusing solely on profit margins, believing success meant dominance and control. But now, he saw how narrow his vision had been. That evening, alone in his office, Logan stared at the city skyline, his reflection in the glass feeling like a stranger. He poured himself a drink, but it did little to soothe the knot in his chest. His company was no longer his own. His decisions, once unquestioned, were now scrutinized. Worse, the person who had seen through his arrogance, the person he had dismissed as unimportant, was now at the helm of the world he had built. Logan's thoughts turned to his failures, employees he had dismissed without consideration, partners he had alienated, and the family he had long since pushed away. For the first time, he wondered if his relentless pursuit of power had left him with nothing of real value. But something else was buried beneath his regret, something unfamiliar but insistent. Logan wanted to change, not for appearances or to regain control of his company, but because he couldn't bear the thought of continuing as the man he had become. While Logan grappled with his self-reflection, Amelia was forging ahead. Under Daniel's guidance, she spearheaded a complete overhaul of Logan's former company. Her plans emphasized employee well-being, environmental sustainability, and community engagement. For the first time, workers felt valued and morale soared. One of Amelia's boldest initiatives involved social projects empowering disadvantaged communities. She partnered with nonprofits to create job training programs, scholarships, and small business grants. These projects quickly gained media attention, and the company's reputation began to rebuild. Meanwhile, Logan, determined to face his failures, made a decision that surprised even himself. Instead of resisting Amelia's leadership, he asked Daniel for a meeting. It was an unusual request, but Daniel agreed, sensing the shift in Logan's demeanor. When Logan entered Daniel's office the following day, he was prepared for rejection, but what he wasn't prepared for was Amelia seated at the desk beside Daniel, reviewing reports. Her expression was calm and professional but guarded. "Logan," she greeted him, her tone neutral but firm. Logan hesitated, then spoke directly. "Amelia, Daniel, I came here to acknowledge my mistakes. I know I've caused much damage to the company and the people who depended on me. I've been blind to what truly matters." Amelia's eyes narrowed slightly, though she remained composed. "And what is it that you think truly matters, Logan?" He met her gaze, his voice steady. "People, trust, responsibility. I didn't see it before, but now, I can't ignore it. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want to learn. I want to do better." The room fell silent. Daniel studied Logan carefully while Amelia's expression softened slightly. "It's one thing to say you want to change," she said, "but are you willing to do the work?" Logan nodded. "I am. If there's any way I can contribute, anything I can do to help, just tell me." Amelia exchanged a glance with Daniel, who finally spoke. "We're not looking for apologies, Logan. We're looking for actions. A social project is launching next week, a job training program for single parents. Amelia's leading it. If you're serious about learning, you can start by joining her team." Logan's pride prickled at the suggestion of working under Amelia, but he pushed it aside. This wasn't about pride anymore. "I'll do it," he said. The following week, Logan was in an environment unlike anything he had ever experienced. The social project office was buzzing with activity. Caseworkers helping applicants, trainers organizing workshops, and participants sharing their stories. Logan, used to the polished world of boardrooms and high-stakes deals, felt out of place among the warmth and chaos of real human struggle. Amelia introduced him to the team with a measured tone. "This is Logan Carter. He'll be observing and assisting with the project." Some team members exchanged wary glances, aware of Logan's reputation. But Logan surprised them. Instead of asserting himself, he listened. He attended every meeting, shadowed trainers, and spent hours hearing participant stories. One story, in particular, stayed with him. Julia, a single mother of two, spoke about how the program had given her the skills and confidence to apply for a stable job. "Before this, I felt invisible," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But now, I feel like I matter. Like I can finally provide for my kids." Hearing Julia's story, Logan felt a lump rise in his throat. He realized he had spent years treating people as numbers, never understanding the lives behind the data. As the weeks passed, Logan's relationship with Amelia began to shift. At first, their interactions were formal and reserved. Amelia maintained her professionalism, wary of his motives. But Logan's consistent effort to learn and contribute began to erode her skepticism. One evening, after a long day at the project site, Logan approached Amelia as she reviewed reports. "Amelia, I just wanted to say thank you," he began, his voice sincere, "for giving me this chance. I've learned more in these past weeks than in years." Amelia looked up, surprised by his humility. It's not about me, Logan. It's about taking what you've learned and using it to make a real difference. He nodded, her words striking a chord. I intend to, he said. For the first time, Amelia saw a glimpse of the man Logan could become. A leader who valued people over profits and who was willing to grow and change. The social project became more than an assignment for Logan. It was a revelation. Every day, the project site peeled back layers of his former self, revealing the man he could be. He had been a businessman fixated on profit margins, yet here he was, surrounded by stories of resilience and struggle, humbled by the courage of those trying to rebuild their lives. Amelia noticed the change in him. At first, she had been skeptical, doubting his intentions. But Logan was proving her wrong, not through grand gestures but quiet consistency. He showed up early, stayed late, and immersed himself in the project. He didn't just listen, he acted. One afternoon, Logan sat with a group of participants during a workshop on financial literacy. A young man named Derek shared his fears about failing to provide for his family. I've always thought I wasn't good enough, Derek admitted, his voice trembling. This program is my last shot. Logan leaned forward, his voice unusually gentle. I know what it's like to feel that way, but I've learned that it's never too late to change. You've already taken the hardest step, believing in yourself enough to be here. Derek nodded, encouraged by Logan's words. Amelia, watching from across the room, felt a pang of admiration. Logan wasn't just changing. He was inspiring change in others. As the project expanded, Io collaborated with Logan and Amelia. Their dynamic shifted from cautious coexistence to genuine partnership. They spent long hours strategizing and brainstorming, challenging each other to think deeper and aim higher. One evening, after reviewing a particularly ambitious proposal for an expansion initiative, Logan turned to Amelia. You've created something incredible here, he said, his voice filled with sincerity. I can see how much these people trust you. They believe in you. Amelia looked at him, her expression thoughtful. It's not about me, Logan. It's about creating something bigger than ourselves. The project works because it's rooted in the idea that everyone deserves a second chance, including you. Her words hung in the air, and Logan felt gratitude. He realized that Amelia's belief in him, despite everything, had given him the courage to change. The board called an emergency meeting to address a pressing issue. A rival company was attempting to undermine the social project by launching a smear campaign. Rumors spread quickly, casting doubt on the integrity of the program and its leadership. The stakes were higher than ever. As the meeting began, tensions ran high. The board members turned to Amelia for answers, trusting her unshaken. But Logan, sensing the weight on her shoulders, stepped forward. I take full responsibility for addressing this, Logan said firmly. The program's success speaks for itself, and I won't let baseless rumors jeopardize what we've built. The board members exchanged skeptical glances. What do you propose, Logan? One of them asked. Logan outlined a plan to counter the smear campaign with transparency. He suggested inviting journalists and community leaders to see the project firsthand, allowing them to witness the positive impact for themselves. He also proposed creating a public forum where participants could share their stories, shifting the narrative to one of resilience and hope. Amelia listened, impressed by his conviction. When Logan finished, she added her support. This is the right approach. The truth will speak louder than any rumor. We need to show people what this project stands for. The board approved the plan, and Logan and Amelia worked tirelessly to execute it. The following weeks were a whirlwind of press visits, participant interviews, and community events. Slowly, the public's perception began to shift. The smear campaign lost momentum, and the project emerged more vital than ever. During a televised event showcasing the program, a reporter asked Logan why he had chosen to champion a cause different from his previous corporate endeavors. Logan paused, glancing at Amelia before answering. I used to think success was measured by wealth and power, he said, his voice steady. But I've learned that true success is about creating opportunities for others, about leaving the world better than you found it. This program has taught me more than any business deal ever could. The audience applauded, and Amelia felt a swell of pride. Logan's words weren't just for show. They reflected the man he was becoming. The challenges they faced brought Amelia and Logan closer together. They worked side by side, navigating obstacles and celebrating victories. Logan often sought Amelia's advice, valuing her perspective more than anyone else's. One evening, as they wrapped up a long day, Logan turned to her with a rare vulnerability. "Amelia, I don't know where I'd be if it weren't for you. You didn't just save this project, you saved me." Amelia smiled, her eyes softening. "Logan, you saved yourself. I just reminded you of what you were capable of." Their partnership, once defined by tension and skepticism, had evolved into something more profound. They weren't just colleagues, they were allies and perhaps something more. With the smear campaign behind them, the project flourished like never before. The transparency initiatives had not only silenced critics but also attracted new supporters. Donations poured in, partnerships with nonprofits expanded, and more participants enrolled, eager to change their lives. For Amelia and Logan, this was a victory built on hard work and the trust they had earned together. The board, previously skeptical of Logan's intentions, began to see him in a new light. At a meeting to review the project's progress, Mr. Haynes, the board chair, commended the transformation. "Logan," he said, leaning forward, "this initiative is one of the most successful programs we've ever undertaken. And I'll admit, I didn't think you could lead something like this. But you've proved us wrong." Logan nodded humbly. "Thank you, Mr. Haynes. But the real credit goes to Amelia and the incredible team she's built." Amelia looked at Logan, surprised by his humility. It contrasted with the man she had first met, the man who couldn't see beyond his ego. This Logan was different, a leader who valued collaboration, who recognized the contributions of others, and who understood that true success was shared. Despite their progress, a new challenge emerged. The program's rapid expansion stretched resources thin. With more participants than anticipated, the budget was nearing its limits. The board suggested scaling back, but Amelia and Logan knew that pulling back now would mean turning people who desperately needed help away. Late one evening, Logan and Amelia stayed at the office, poring over financial reports. The tension was palpable as they debated solutions. "We can't cut back on participants," Amelia said firmly. "These are real people, Logan, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're counting on us." Logan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, Amelia. But the entire program could collapse if we push too hard without the funds to support it." Amelia's gaze softened. "Then we find another way. There has to be a solution." After hours of brainstorming, they devised a plan. An ambitious fundraising gala that would bring together corporate donors, community leaders, and former participants to showcase the program's success. It was risky, but if executed well, it could provide the funding they needed to sustain the expansion. The night of the gala arrived, and the venue was a stunning testament to their dedication. Lights twinkled overhead, and the room buzzed with excitement as attendees mingled. Former participants shared their stories on stage, moving the audience to tears with tales of resilience and transformation. Logan watched from the side, his heart swelling with pride. This was more than a fundraising event. It celebrated everything they had built together. When it was his turn to speak, he stepped onto the stage, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Tonight, you've heard stories of courage and perseverance," he began. "These people remind us why we do what we do. But none of this would be possible without a team of dedicated individuals, and one person in particular, Amelia. Her vision, leadership, and heart are the foundation of this program." The audience erupted in applause, and Amelia, seated at a nearby table, felt a warmth rise in her chest. Logan's words were genuine, and for the first time, she realized how deeply he valued her, not just as a colleague, but as something more. As the gala wound down, Logan found Amelia gazing at the city lights on the balcony. He joined her, the cool night air carrying the faint hum of conversation from inside. "You did an incredible job tonight," he said softly. "This wouldn't have been possible without you." Amelia turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "It wasn't just me, Logan. We did this together." He hesitated, then took a step closer. "Amelia, there's something I need to say." She looked at him, her heart pounding. "What is it?" Logan took a deep breath. I've spent so much of my life chasing the wrong things: power, control, recognition. But working with you has shown me what matters. You've changed me in ways I didn't think were possible. And I don't want to imagine doing any of this without you." Amelia's eyes softened, and a small smile played on her lips. "Logan, you've come so far. And if I'm honest, you've changed me too. I never thought I could trust someone like you, but you've proven me wrong." They stood silently momentarily, the city lights reflecting in their eyes. Then, slowly, Logan reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she laced her fingers with his, the gesture speaking volumes. The gala was a resounding success, raising more than enough funds to sustain the program's expansion. But for Logan and Amelia, it marked more than just a professional victory. It was the start of a deeper partnership. In the following weeks, their relationship blossomed, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Together, they continued to lead the program, their bond inspiring those around them. Logan's transformation symbolized the project's mission, that everyone deserves a second chance and that change is always possible. As the program expanded to new regions, Logan and Amelia became known as leaders and visionaries. Their work touched thousands of lives, proving that even the most minor acts of kindness and courage could create ripples of change. Months after the gala, the social project had evolved into a movement. Its impact extended beyond the local community, inspiring other companies to adopt similar social responsibility models. Amelia and Logan found themselves at the forefront of this transformation, traveling to conferences and speaking to audiences about the importance of valuing people over profits. But success wasn't just measured in numbers or recognition. It was in the lives they touched. Julia, the single mother who had once doubted her future, now worked as a program coordinator, helping others navigate the same path she had walked. Derek, the young man who had feared failure, opened a small business with the skills he learned, hiring others who needed a second chance. These stories fueled Logan and Amelia's drive, reminding them why they had started this journey. Once driven by ambition alone, Logan now understood the true meaning of leadership. His growth had not been easy. He had faced his failures, swallowed his pride, and rebuilt himself from the ground up. Through it all, Amelia had been his guiding light. One evening, as they walked through the quiet streets of the community where the project began, Logan stopped suddenly. Children's laughter echoed in the distance, and the faint glow of streetlights bathed them in soft warmth. "Amelia," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I never imagined my life could look like this, so full of purpose, so full of you. You've taught me what it means to lead, care, and build something meaningful, and I want to continue this journey with you for the rest of my life." Amelia's breath caught, her heart swelling. "Logan, this has been the most incredible journey of my life, and it's because we did it together." Logan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, opening it to reveal a simple yet elegant ring. "Amelia, will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, her voice breaking with emotion. "Yes, Logan. Yes." Their wedding was a small, intimate affair held in the community they had helped uplift. Surrounded by friends, colleagues, and program participants, Logan and Amelia exchanged vows that were as much about their shared mission as their love. "I promise to build with you," Logan said, his voice steady. "Not just a life, but a legacy that makes the world a little brighter." "And I promise to stand with you," Amelia replied, her eyes shining. Through every challenge, every success, and every moment of growth, as they danced under the stars that night, laughter and music filling the air, they knew their journey was just beginning. In the years that followed, their work continued to grow. The social project expanded nationally, helping countless individuals rebuild their lives. Logan and Amelia became champions of ethical leadership, their story inspiring others to lead with integrity and compassion. But for Logan and Amelia, their most significant accomplishment wasn't the awards or recognition. It was the lives they had touched and the love they had built together. They had turned a moment of adversity into a lifetime of purpose, proving that even the hardest of beginnings could lead to the most beautiful endings. Amelia and Logan's journey was not just about redemption or success, but about transformation. It was a reminder that leadership is about service, that love is built on trust, and that the most meaningful legacies are those that lift others. Do you believe in the power of second chances? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of hope, growth, and transformation.